Hello, dear friends. Here we are, 30 days of inner journey, your thought, your life. This is day 18th, and it's chapter 18 on society. And we are here in this beautiful opportunity of rescuing directives that were given to us by the spirit author Emmanuel through the hands of the medium Chico Xavier. He shares with us in the introduction of this book, Thought in Life, that this is actually a synopsis of a book that is studied in the spiritual realm, specifically in the schools of regeneration, where spirits who are about to reincarnate or incarnate prepare themselves to more fully understand how to proceed in an incarnated life. So what a blessing for all of us. Since 1958, when this book was written and published, we've come to know more specifically about these directions. Often in these chapters you're gonna find, and me too, we are gonna find together new ways of seeing things that for us were quite clear, like yesterday when we're studying chapter 17 on profession. We've come to know that the spiritist view on the exercise of a profession goes beyond the call of duties on earth. It's actually profession from a divine perspective when we are giving of ourselves. It's this selfless giving that defines everything, and the connections with the angelic minds that are going to be with us to boost the progress on the earth. The question is, how can we walk the talk today and not wait for tomorrow? Before we read the chapter, let us go to our beautiful community here and say hi to everyone. Hello, dear Jussara. How are you? And Valéria, Luciana, Monica, and I think Daniel too, right? And Sunshine. Thank you, friends. And Leah, Leonor, welcome back, my friend. So here we are, friends. Society. And today is January 21st, 2017. Coincidentally or not, and I understand there is no coincidence, today the whole world proved to us the power of the Love Society. Yeah, the women march around the world prove to us that together we're stronger, together we're much better. And it's not only about women, but every single human being together, loving and displaying this harmonious way of being. It's the era of the feminine. It's not about the women or men, but the feminine harmony, understanding, combined with the grace of determination and objectivity. Today we proved it around the world that we can certainly achieve higher levels of progress on the earth when we value the power of this togetherness, right? Hello, Rihanna, and Adilson, and Karina, Melissa. Friends, let us listen with the ears of the heart. If that exists, it exists as we put all of our attention in the words that are going to be described to us by Emmanuel. These are directives for life. Hello, Rihanna. Chapter 18, Society. Human society may be compared to a large melting pot of mental thoughts, where each spirit within it is in the process of evolution and purification, developing its own mental reflexes. Inside this environment, the principles of action and reaction operate with precision. Nations, like large factories of progress, are a valuable aid to civilization and significant centers of work, where a great number of souls participate in their self-education by serving the community. They often move from one country to another according to their need for certain acquisitions through experience. This collective home of people, where racial and social affinities are defined, is in itself the sum of total of the emotions and thoughts of its inhabitants. Within its vibratory frontiers, and by means of the brief learning period between cradle and grave, or what we call an earthly experience, the soul changes positions according to the mental reflexes it has emitted or those it has assimilated in its environment. Eventually, the time to check values arrives when physical death dictates the cessation of vital forces which the spirit had received as a loan. The spirit is granted the bodily means for his task of development, service, readjustment, or elevation in the sphere of the flesh. It then reaps the results of its conduct. Many times, it will have to start the task of regenerating its attitude and purifying its sentiments for the reconstruction of its destiny. Those who trample over the rights of their fellow beings by taking advantage of their position of wealth or social power will later return to live in the same ill-treated way. There they will receive in person the suffering which they created in the hearts of needy people. And if both aggressor and victim do not succeed in ample and reciprocal forgiveness, we will find a social picture of recurrent waves of hatred and vengeance, dissension and crime, a breeding ground for all sorts of delinquency. Societies of yesterday that had enslaved human labor must today receive and nurture as its own children those it had driven away from the land where they were to evolve. Invading armies that trample over the fields of poor and humble people will be reborn as children of that conquered land where they must work for the reconstruction of the institutions they had destroyed. Segregationist groups who humiliate other races return carrying sorry friends, the same pigmentation they had detested, collecting the result of their own deeds. Aristocrats who were insensitive to the problems of the lower classes after living in luxury are usually reborn in the poorest sections of the city. They drink from the cup of poverty, the repercussions of their cruelty, when in other times they had laughed at the pain and suffering of others. Human society has always been a gigantic filter of spirits in which souls learn experiences regarding wealth and poverty, as well as giving and receiving orders. By this process, they gather the harvest of their own planting and either remain at ordinary ground level or ascend in obedience to divine evolution. If we could summarize it in one expression, to talk about society and our life in society, Emmanuel repeats from the first paragraph to the end of it, action and reaction. If we care, we'll be cared for. If we don't care, we'll be receiving the carelessness, thoughtlessness of others as well. It's so timely, as Melissa is saying. It's as if we personally had planned, but how could we plan? Yeah, we didn't. We didn't. The spirits did. So this is another proof that we are being guided by the superior spirits. No fear. Only courage. No wonder Christ Jesus showed to us the importance of being courageous. He said the trademark of the Christ-conscious being is joy, courage, and hope. Courage. Courage not to fight, but courage to love. It's this courage to love. We had the opportunity of taking Virginia to watch a movie named Moana. And we would recommend to everyone, it's not only for children, but there's a part of the movie that shows what Virginia called like the bad angel, and how the little Moana figured out that what he was missing was the heart in his heart. And then she gives an order to the sea. Please bring her to me, the bad angel. And she goes courageously, understanding that the missing piece of that bad angel is a heart. She goes with her courage, and when she places the heart on that bad angel turns into a beautiful goddess. And then new life takes over the lands all around, in the sea and everywhere else, showing to us the power of love. So the courage to love. Let us meditate on this as we begin this chapter. Let me say hi to some friends that joined us now, right? Our dear Angelita, and our dear Saul, and Rudy. Yes, we're all one. And what a day, March 21st, historical. It's a historical day where women and even men around the world got together. It's not only about protesting, but about this awareness. Because we are women in this life, but who knows if in previous lives we were men who mistreated women, and now we're saying we don't agree with it any longer. Enough is enough. Earth needs to move to a new position, and it's about accepting the feminine in all of us. It's beyond the physiological disposition. It's the era of the feminine, which is about compassion, which is about intuition, which is about love and giving. And let me share something with you. I know it's a sensitive issue, but the mentors, in a non-political way, but in a kind way, as they dedicated today Kardec Radio's program, Praying for President Trump, Mentor Joseph was sharing with me. He said, Vanessa, do a daily exercise trying to find the positive and the good and the divine, because he's divine, his cabinet is divine. Everybody is a child of God. And he said, observe his name, Donald John Trump. And I didn't know his middle name was John. And he said to me, it's not by chance. John, think of John the Evangelist, John the Baptist, but especially John the Evangelist, who reincarnated as Francis of Assisi. We have Pope Francis, and we have in this era, even told by Divaldo Franco, about how this care of John the Apostle, the Evangelist, and his team is caring for our humanity and the shift in the current times. Let us trust the good. Names as Emmanuel told Chico Xavier, not by chance. I'm not saying he's John. I'm not saying, we're just saying that we all have the supervision of the higher spirits. None of us in this world are without supervision, angelic supervision. Each one of us are being cared for. And who knows? Who knows? Are we seeing things? Well, if we're seeing the positive, we better be seeing the positives. As Jesus said, I always prefer to believe in the good and to see the good and to invest in the good. And as Emmanuel said in this very book, we must, if we want to be free of our shackles of the past, we must seek the good, feel the good, visualize the good, and mold our lives to the good, inevitably. But in this chapter, so fitting for today, as we had this beautiful, real demonstration of the power of our society, of togetherness. From beginning to end, Emmanuel tells us, and it's so funny because even the words in this chapter are so fitting. Words like melting pot, totally the portrait of the United States. And when we tremble, observe that these are not mere coincidences. As much as John, who wrote the evangelist, who wrote the apocalypse, they could see further down the line. These spirits who plan these studies, they know better than us. Oh yeah. Just think about it. Maybe it's gonna make you feel more safe. Feel secure. We're living a beautiful time. When you have a voice, I have a voice. You have resources, we have resources. And now we have specially new ethical moral codes to be implemented. But as the mentor said today at Kardec Radio, how can we actually prove that in the life continuum of many lives we're better than President Donald John Trump? What if in the past I did way worse than he did? How can I cast a stone? We're not casting stones, right? We're just securing the right direction. But as we read today at Kardec Radio, Emmanuel says in the book Money, it's about securing the goodness inside of us. Before God and Caesar, we have to do it in our lives. Human society may be compared to a melting pot of mental thoughts. And André Luiz, in another book, Mecanismos da Mediunidade, Mechanisms of Mediumship, when it comes in English, he says, quite interestingly, that we in our society live in this jungle of thoughts and feelings on the earth. How many different, it's like a melting pot, people thinking the diversity, the most diverse thoughts. And what are we supposed to do? To have a direction. We can't expect people to figure out life, so we figure our lives or our own. Here he's saying where each spirit within it is in the process of evolution and purification, developing its own mental reflexes. So you and I and everyone is learning to educate and develop our mental emissions and our reception, mental reflexes, what we emit and what we attract. For the longest time, many lives, we've lived in such a way that we think without actually thinking. Unconsciously, we're just producing automatic thoughts because emotions are there, triggering vibrations and then attitudes and actions. Now it's about time to put mind over matter, mind over the mental electromagnetic force that is inside of us, domesticating it, just like a beautiful waterfall that needs a system to produce light, to give electricity, and to be productive. Let's think about this. So he says the principles of action and reaction operate with precision in human society. Throughout these paragraphs, he's going to repeat again and again that our life in society is the living mirror of the law of action and reaction. However we decide to relate to people, we're going to receive it later in another life or even in this life. How often do we put these two together? Who are we but our relationships too? We're here to learn how to be in these relationships, to learn a different approach in life. The good news is that we are not doomed to the same response every time. Some people tell. But whenever this person is around me, I feel this way and I can't help it, but feel this way and do this way and say this way. And did you know we can learn a different way simply by not reacting? That's the first rule. Second, by coaching ourselves, first visualizing it. No wonder Emilio said it's about thinking the good, feeling the good, visualizing the good, and then actually unfolding it by molding our lives to it. But it'd be easier. So you're going to meet X person. Think. We're going to be harmonious. Feel. We can be harmonious. We can be friends. Visualize it. And then mold our hearts to it. Hello, Fred and Felipe. Felipe, thank you for the pictures of the march. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Nations like large factories of progress are a valuable aid to civilization and significant centers of work where a great number of souls participate in their self-education by serving the community. They often move from one country to another according to their needs. It talks about immigration. It talks about the importance of these nations. And even Kardec in the Spirit's book, there is a moment when he's talking about law of society, and another one he talks about law of progress, where he says, are we going to be one day all one single nation? And the Spirit says, no, no, no. Diversity is not a bad thing. It's going to remain. But we're going to cherish similar human principles, ethical, moral principles. That was said 160 years ago when the Spirit's book was published, April 18th, 1857. Now, finally, we see it happening. We have diversity, but we can cherish the same human values, the ones that are beyond just the material life, the ones in which we respect one another, we cherish tolerance whenever needed, and compassion and kindness that gradually is expanding in its concepts. We have programs nowadays like CNN Heroes. We have Good News Network. Huffington Post has a section for good news as well. And many other newspapers are now gravitating to sharing good news. Something that 15 years ago didn't exist. 20 years ago was unspoken. Now we have it clear cut. we're moving to a different direction. And it's a direction of what? Self-education, he says. Have you ever thought about why we're living in this nation that you're living in now? I know we have people here from South Africa, from Australia, from Brazil, from the United States, from Canada, in Europe. And we ask, what are the values of this nation that now serve me best to educate myself as an immortal soul? I remember when I moved to the United States 19 years ago, I had my struggles. And Mentor Joseph said, Vanessa, if you really want to be well here, you need to surrender to the good of it. Do not resist. Do not resist to your transformation. You need to open up. We can't keep ourselves cherishing what was wonderful. But now, we're in a different reality. Please reincarnate. That's why Mentor Joseph said, when we migrate, we're reincarnating in a reincarnation. We need to reincarnate to live life to the fullest of possibilities. It's about discovering a new self. You can't be the same person in a different country. It doesn't make any sense. I need to be somebody else, better, transformed, different, same name, good qualities, but expanded, open-minded. I can't be in a new country and not speak the language of the country, and not know the history of the country, and not cherish the history of the country, and not appreciate the values of the country. I need to get rid of my ethnocentricity. And I cannot use Spiritism to be ethnocentric. Today, a good friend of mine wrote to me and said, Vanessa, I know Spiritists were giving up on Spiritism. They're become faithless. And I said, I think they're being coherent. I'm still writing to her. But I was talking to Mentor George and said, they are coherent, Vanessa. Because the way the movement is sometimes taking directions, it turns people down. Why? Lack of coherence. There are people who are using the flag of Spiritism just to cherish their Brazilian nationality. And as a Brazilian, I say, I have the right to say, I think that's wrong. I can't go to a Spiritist center because there I am cherishing my language, my nationality. But Vanessa said, no, you can't. There's a huge wall. We talk about President Trump, but we build walls too. When we don't speak the language of majority of people around us, we're creating a wall. It's invisible, but it's a wall. And that's critical. And that's critical. Because if you go to a church, that's the other day, it was even interesting. We were driving by and I saw Christ Church of Po Chung, Catholic church, something of that nature. The whole church was in an Asian language, which is okay, we respect. But I said, I'm not even going to attempt to walk in, because I know I don't speak the language. Is that charity? Is that what Paul of Tarsus did? I doubt. And we name Paul, the Apostle Paul. Incoherence. It's not coherent. We're not judging, we're just saying life in society is about opening your hearts. It's about self-education. So you can't move to another country and open a Spiritist center that does everything in another language. The majority of people are not going to understand. I remember the Spirit said about when we were a group in my house, we did it in Portuguese, but it was in my house. But the minute we thought about doing something, incorporated activities for the public, we said we can't do it in Portuguese. It has to be in English. It doesn't make sense. No judgment, but a reminder. You know why we're reminding this? Because the chapter talks about society. We're talking about spiritual societies too. Oh yeah, it's not only about countries. And today's the day that people marched around the world for their rights. Many protesting the president. Valid or not, I don't know, only God knows, but we're saying here, how are we any different? Is he trying to build walls? Do you build walls? Are you building walls between you and family members? Between you and other members of our community, of our society? How many walls do we have? We need to think. January 21st, 2017. How long is it gonna take for us to be coherent? How long is it gonna take around the world to be coherent and to follow the footsteps of the Master and of Paul of Tarsus and of all these loving and kind spirits that have been helping us all along? We're saying this because the message fits perfectly what we're reading today. And here we have our friend Constance Franklin. I'm always working till midnight when you're going live, but I watch you afterwards when I get home. Thank you. Thank you, Constance. Don't worry. Hello, Patricia and Edivanda. Thank you, Fred, for your kindness. And so, Julija. Hello, dear Julija. This is about society, gatherings, the collective, social, the social part of us. You and I are social beings. There was a time philosophers discussed whether or not humans were social beings. Thomas Hobbes represented that mindset that believed that we're not social beings, but we live in society because we have to, for survival. But the other line of thought, with Jean-Jacques Rousseau and others, understood that we're social by nature. And as such, we live in society for the progress of ourselves, not only because we need, but because we are built for it. We have an inbuilt system. Nowadays with neuroscience, we have the living proof that we have a beautiful brain and a beautiful nervous system that is prepared for this social exchange. We have molecules like oxytocin that are boosted when we're bonding with people. Today, in this march around the world, even if you were not there, thanks to this social media, we felt connected. We felt like bonded with people. What a powerful feeling. And we felt so good. Relieved we're not alone. We are not alone. No, you are not alone. Right? You are not alone, and neither am I. We are not alone. But we are here to cherish this divine social essence. And he says more. This collective home of people, where racial and social affinities are defined, is itself the sum total of emotions and thoughts of its inhabitants. No wonder, my friends, no wonder. We here have, in this world, emotions going on. Sometimes people say, I don't know, I was at the march, but I don't know what I felt. But I felt so much. Emotions, emotions and thoughts. Did you observe that each and every chapter, Emmanuel is conjugating this expression, emotion and thoughts, thoughts and emotions, emotions and thoughts, thoughts and emotion. I understand you, my friend Julija. It's okay. And thank you always for your feedback, okay? So he says here, within its vibratory frontiers and by means of the brief learning period between cradle and grave, earthly experience, the soul changes position according to the mental reflexes that it has emitted. Exactly. So we need to think about this. Clearly, vibratory frontiers. Each country has its vibrational tone. Oh yeah, it does. And we are part of it. Imagine for those who are living in a country, and even if you're born in a country, some people say, I was born here, I don't like it. Or you have been living in another country for 30, 40, 50 years and you don't like it, and you think you're not doing any harm. We're doing great harm to the country. We need to reconcile with this country. Why am I here? Even if I were born in that country, why was I born here? But it's not me, Vanessa. I don't like anything. But why did God allow you to be born here or to live here, temporarily or not? And he said earthly experience is so passing. I know you're asking for a therapeutic moment, right? Therapeutic moment. 2 questions. Breathing in and out because it's our inner discovery, inner journey. Let us meditate. What are the possible reasons in terms of self-education, as it says? You were born where you were born. Let us think. For self-education purposes, the immortal spirit. Why was I born in X country? Why? What is that for? Why in that country, not anywhere else? What are the positive things we're saying? Huh? Think about it. Let us think about it. Now, since we potentially are living elsewhere, not necessarily where we were born, if it is in the same country but in a different city, different state, why, for self-education purposes, do you think you're living now where you're living? Why? What are the social features that are being brought to you as opportunities for self-education? That's how we become harmonious. We don't resist. We accept and embrace. It's part of your history. It's part of our history. It's part of ourselves. What are the blessings of having been born in a particular location for you, and the blessings of being in a particular location right now in the world? We need to be fully aware of it. Emmanuel is saying it's not by chance. And he's saying that we change our positions according to the mental reflexes it has emitted or those it has assimilated in its environment. We're going to change. Today we were marching for the rights of women. How many of us in the past as men we mistreated? Now we're advocating for the cause of women. Beautiful. But don't feel hatred. Because when I am indignated, as Camilo, the mentor of Raul Teixeira, said once, he was watching a political program on TV and he became, Raul Teixeira, outraged. And he was like very indignated. Camilo came along, his spiritual mentor, and said, "What is going on, Raul?" And he said, "Don't you see? Look what they're doing, the politics here in our city in Brazil." And this was like way back when, not nowadays. And Camilo said, "Raul, if I could just tell you the reasons why you're indignated. You are indignated with things that you don't accept in yourself because they were displayed in the past. Why are we indignated with particular things and not others? Because those are pushing buttons that already exist inside of us. So what is the solution? You know, this defense mechanism of projection. As Freud said, our conscience sees in others something that we don't approve in ourselves from a remote past we can't recall, but we feel it. And then we start reproaching it. But we reproach with so much strength. Indignated. Why? Because we did that and worse in the past. What should we do? Nothing, no. We keep advocating for the good. But the important thing is to not feel hatred. The important thing is what? To feel exactly what? Reconciled. Peace within. Saying, I am going to march with calmness, with harmony and strength. And if you think it's not possible to advocate for a good cause and be elegant, noble, and gentle, and kind, determined, and firm at the same time, look at Master Jesus. He's the guiding model. He's the full expression of it all. Full expression. We can be peaceful, right, Melissa? We can. So it's an opportunity for all of us, to see how we're gonna do any different. Right, Constance? Yeah. And you're saying that, you know, the comparison with Trump building walls and ourselves. Exactly, you're saying sometimes we build walls to protect ourselves. Is that needed? No, we don't need to build walls. We build bridges of friendship, of kindness, of love. Trusting the divine in everyone. Look at Jesus. Constance, thank you for your question. And let us reflect on the beauty of Jesus' attitude, because he's our guide and model. We should always refer to him and see how to proceed. He knew Judas was going to the very extremist direction, but he didn't isolate Judas. He didn't accuse and reproach Judas, knowing about what was going to happen. But he advised everyone, including Judas, pay attention, you have free will. But he did, and he used every single opportunity until the last minute to build a bridge. Why? Because he was not thinking about this moment. He is thinking about immortality. He knew that sooner or later, Judas, even if the after that life, would understand life from a different perspective. Build bridges of kindness and trust and love. Thank you so much, Melissa. And Divaldo Franco always mentions, right, Karina, that we have to build bridges. Correct. It's not easy, as Constance has mentioned to us. It's very hard because we're afraid. But if we love the counterpart, love or fear, when we love, we don't fear. We trust the divine. 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 In Donald Trump, Donald the Duck. Oh no, I'm joking. I was playing with Virginia yesterday saying, this is our new president, Donald the Duck. No. Donald Trump. Donald John Trump. Let's talk about this. He has John in his name. Donald John Trump. Donald John Trump. John the Evangelist. Bringing to us this hope. The hope that we're going to change. The hope that he's being the instrument of this new opportunity. We already love him because he gave us the opportunity to do this march today. If it were not for him, we wouldn't know we're that strong together. You see, that's what the spirits teach us. To love even those who create embarrassments for us. And respecting the rights of others. Right, Melissa? We are already thankful to Donald Trump. Donald John Trump, thank you very much, because through you, we got together, we had a wonderful time, and we met new people, and we've learned about new features we have in our society and in the world that are amazing. And we've learned that the United States is not alone, that the world cares for us too, that we are together, not only in this country, but around the world. It's the divine, it's the society, as says Emmanuel. Wow, wow. And he says here quite clearly, eventually the time to check values arrives when physical death dictates the cessation of vital forces. The spirit is granted the body means for this task of development, service, the readjustment and elevation. And those who trample over the rights of their fellow beings will face consequences. We don't hate anybody. I don't go there. Hatred? No. Not at all. Because there are natural consequences. And we're going to face what? Many people are saying, but there's going to be a war. Don't worry. Because the law of God is taking care of it. If we choose that route, we go there, destroy, we're going to be reincarnating there. As easy as that. And then we learn to love those whom we hated. Don't worry. Let's not worry. God knows everything, is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. And he knows. He is taking care of everything. We don't need to go home and say, like the minions. Don't be desperate. No despair, no despair, no despair. Just love. Today at Kardec Radio, we're talking about healing the world through Michael Jackson's song. Yeah, it's about healing inside of us, our emotions and our thoughts, to express this in the world. So a third question for us is, have we reconciled with our previous lives when we were also the aggressors, hopefully not in this life any longer? Have we reconciled already? What do we need to do to reconcile? So observe the features that really push your buttons and go within and say, man, I probably were like this and that's why it makes me so indignated. Go in front of the mirror and say, I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to me. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to me. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to me. Let us constantly tell ourselves, I forgive myself. I love and approve of myself because I'm a child of God. I'm learning. What I did in the past was pure ignorance, and I forgive myself. Visualize yourself above the line of time, the timeline of many lives, and go back as if you had and you and your guardian angel go back in your mind and feelings. Visualize as if you were watching a movie. You embracing yourself in previous lives and saying, I forgive you for you did not know what you were doing. I forgive you for you didn't know what you were doing. I forgive you for you didn't know what you were doing. And I emit this self-forgiveness. And then I can look back at whomever is in front of me in this life, and I will see that I'm no longer indignated, because I don't see my reflection in those people any longer. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to me. And it says pleasing to me because it's respecting me too. When the Spirit say in the law of justice, love, and charity that justice is respecting people's rights, is respecting our rights too. And in the past we thought we had that right. We were wrong. But we forgive ourselves. But now we know better. We're not going to make the same mistake. But I forgive myself. And like Paul, Saul to Paul, the courage to face ourselves and say, I made a mistake. I want to correct myself. Now I'm going to do it differently. And stand up tall and go. The other day, Virginia did something wrong and she bowed her head, which is natural, and was walking away. I said, Virginia, come back. Come back. Look, when we do something wrong, we don't bow our heads. We face our mistakes with courage and we say, I'm not going to do it again, and I forgive myself to it. Stand up tall, heads up. Do not feel defeated because you're here to learn. And you and I, my friends, are here to learn. And what else are we here to do? Humility. We need to practice humility. Yes, that's how we learn humility. I made a mistake. I'm going to correct myself. I'm not going to be pity partying somewhere. No. No pity party. We're going to say, you know, I made a mistake. But I have the stoic feeling inside of me to face it, change it, and humble myself in the courage of facing that scenario. That's humility. When I humble myself before my own shortcomings and I see the greatness of God saying, go on, try it again. You know, when you do these games or you do a password and they say retry, push the button, retry. Don't walk away. Push the button, retry. And Fred is saying, there are no mistakes, only lessons learned. Exactly. Push the button, retry. Don't walk away. Keep trying. Retry, and ask for help. And Emmanuel, in this beautiful chapter, He says, he talks about all the things people were marching against today. And the question is, why are we marching against it? Because we did that in the past too. Big deal. We're now repairing the mistake by feeling expiation, by going through the process, and now by implementing a new way of loving one another. And he says, human society has always been a gigantic filter of spirits, in which souls learn experiences regarding wealth and poverty, as well as giving and receiving orders. By this process, they gather the harvest of their own planting and either remain at ordinary ground level or ascend in obedience to divine evolution. I can remain stationary or evolve and obey God. When I obey the human laws, I am actually obeying God. When I obey a certain disposition, I'm obeying God. In that environment, and that environment, it's epigenetic. The environment is changing our genes. Of course it is. True mutations are happening. And it's supposed to be like this. Because the environment is changing the gene activation. It's deactivation. It's changing the way we feel about ourselves, about one another, as we live in this gigantic filter, which is human society. Think about society, gigantic filter, where we learn experiences in the different roles of life. Action and reaction. If I sow today, I'm going to reap tomorrow. The final question for us: what are we sowing? Concord, harmony, brotherhood, kindness, togetherness, or division, separation, segregation, discrimination, feelings of superiority? What are we doing? It's about time, right? What a beautiful time we're living on the earth, when we come to the filtering of our true selves. Living in societies about self-education. Why are we living at the current time on the earth? At this beautiful current time, and not yesterday or tomorrow? Why? Why are we here now? Who are we to experience these beautiful moments? Share the news, dear friends. Tell your friends and family. Rejoice, because you're living at an unprecedented time on the earth, like never before, where we're shifting. The tone, goodness, is little by little taking over inside of us, as if you can see a beautiful map in our hearts, and the currents of love taking over and showering all of us in goodness, because our essence is light. You're light, I am light. Let it shine. Let us wrap up and sing. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine in you, let it shine in others, let it shine in everyone. Let's not create any obstacles. Let us not create any shadows. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. the light of God and love inside of us. It's a new day. We just shifted to January 22nd. It's already midnight, a new opportunity. The exercise of the day is observing the features in our society and how this gigantic filter is giving you opportunities for self-education. Thank you so much, Constance. Okay? Thank you, Maria Edith, Leonor, Sol, Fred, Melissa, Dilson, Rita de Cássia, bringing miracles to our community, and lots of smile, and Rihanna, and Edivanda. Thank you, friends. Let us allow this light to shine, and Leah, and all the friends, Karina. And until tomorrow, dear Fred, and Sunshine, and Jussara,